Happy Tuesday, Care Bears, Pod Killers, and every capsulator in between. Here's your bite-sized weekly dose of nudity news, tips, and information. This week, developers respond to big requests, Plex jumps again, reprocessing cuts into mining, and XTC is recruiting. Our guest this week is Shura, CEO of Guiding Hand Social Club. Not that Guiding Hand Social Club, a different Guiding Hand Social Club.
And now for the news. First things first, storyline loot can now be reprocessed, which means there's another viable source for the more rare minerals. This will have an effect on mineral prices, give PvE pilots another income stream, help reprocessors, and as a side effect, hinder miners since they will no longer be the sole source of some of these now cheaper minerals. As many of you know, the warp speeds in HiSec have doubled to cut down on travel times, which is actually really nice. The developers responded to the top 55 community suggestions. Here's some of the highlights. They will be implementing a character delete function, so you can delete those unwanted characters in the selection page. Bookmarks will finally be implemented. They're a great way to be able to warp a few hundred km away from your station undock or a gate. You could also avoid camps and bubbles by not warping in a straight line to the next gate. A feature to rename your ship is coming, a great thing for having many of the same hull for different purposes. The option to self-destruct will be added to pods, allowing you to pod express yourself, and also probably eliminate hostages. A more proper insurance program will be implemented down the road as well.
This week brings a sudden Plex spike, jumping by 80K to an average of 524,000. That means for $10 US, you can grab a quick 137 million ISK. Your corp ad of the week is XTC. XTC is your friendly neighborhood corp made up of dads, dog lovers, and dedicated PvP pilots. They have a wide variety of members from seasoned EO vets to rookies still looking for the undock button. Any player is able to find PvP fleets with plenty of content from a constant stream of Corp and Alliance fleets in their null home. The leadership values transparency and service far more than ego. If this sounds like the right playstyle for you, please chat with our assessment team on Discord. Link is in the description.
This week, the bounty goes to palm trees. Typically seen in GenFed space, maybe possibly GTech Q5JU. The bounty amount is 50 million for the first 3 verified killmails. Must also have a screenshot of the personal message to palm trees saying, quote, "This is from Aaron," end quote. He flies in a magnet covert ops with approximately 8 points. If you happen to have snagged this kill, please refer to our show notes for the proper links to claim that money.
Our guest this week is Shura, CEO of Hand. How's it going, Shura?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Doing good. So you are Guiding Hand Social Club, but not that Guiding Hand Social Club.
Yeah. So whenever I started the game up, first week of Eve Echoes, I joined some corp. I really had no idea anything about the game, but I remember seeing it, being announced. And like, well, this might be cool. And I joined some corp, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to set 40% tax." And I was like, I don't know about that one. So I ended up leaving and just making my own. And I remember reading stories about Guiding Hand Social Club, whenever I had an interest in EVE Online. So I was like, I wonder if that's taken. So I put it in, and, I never expected to be in the spot that I'm currently in. It was just kind of like, well, I'll take my own corp, just because for a cool name, and it's grown to something a lot larger than I probably ever anticipated.
So kind of a pleasant surprise then. Weren't expecting so much growth.
No, not at all. We were always talking about it. I started out, we made like the Discord, and I was just playing really casually, and then my my what we call our XO, like my second in command now, just kept getting me to wanted me to jump in voice, and it turned out he was like laid off. Well, he quit his job, but he was a salesperson, and we just got a great luck of the draw with random people who applied because I hit that gold rush of the the first one of the first corps around. So I just had tons of people applying to get that SP bonus back in the day. And the next thing I knew, we started having structure, and then I try to keep up to date on all the EVE Online drama, also with EVE Echoes drama. And from my understanding, I think people are just trying to remove the goons from being like the top force in EVE Online. And I'm not sure what the catalyst was, but I think there's like basically a mega coalition trying to wipe goons out of wherever they're holding up right now. So
That sounds familiar.
yeah, I mean, same story, different year.
You would think a lot of people fled EO to Echoes to get away from stuff like that, huh?
Yeah, and funny story. Whenever we first joined up, we originally started in Syndicate, and we joined an alliance called Shadow Syndicate, and they were trying to join goons or bees, which I now realize is not the same bees, but I didn't want to be aligned with with bees necessarily. So that was an interesting story that took place to get us out of that whole situation.
Is this your first time being a CEO?
It's my first time being a CEO, but I've led a lot of other MMO groups, notably mostly WoW and Final Fantasy 14. I played for a long time, and relatively successful guilds and FCs or whatever you call it in those games.
So being a CEO, how much time do you actually get to play the game, or compared to the Discord game?
Lately, it's been more Discord. The part that I enjoy of the game, I do enjoy like the diplomacy and the talks and like the metagame above. I don't really have much joy in like ratting. I do enjoy like running around with all the guys and having fun and doing stupid stuff and seeing what trouble we can get into. But I spend a lot of time in Discord and a lot of time doing administrative things. But that's more engaging to me than something like ratting or mining. I'd rather see the building blocks and put the building blocks down versus just be another smaller cog in the machine, if that makes sense.
Oh, definitely. I spend most of my time on Discord and very little of it actually in game as well.
I find myself to be more and more involved in Discord by the day. So it started from never having a Discord to being actively on it and being basically my primary source of social media now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I usually get I've got like 20 pings I wake up to every day. And, sometimes you're like, please leave me alone. But, sometimes you just get in the zone and, it's, I enjoy, just like the Matani from Goons very rarely logs in. But he still plays the game at a higher level than most. So that's what makes EVE special is it's big space chess. So, you don't have to be necessarily in game to be engaged in the universe.
I like that. Space chess. That's interesting. I haven't heard that yet.
Space chess, space risk, space civilization.
Yeah, risk is pretty appropriate, I would say, too. Yeah, dominate your territories.
I just love seeing the ever expanding, push and pull of the lines of the coalitions and seeing all the updates, because that's just something you don't see in any other game besides EVE Online, just to see an actual emergent, player driven universe. I mean, there really isn't anything like it besides EVE.
Even just the PvP for a mobile game, you still have 1,200 people in one fight. So yeah, it's definitely unique.
Yeah, honestly, I forget I'm playing a mobile game most of the time. I mean, there could be better servers, and it's crazy that our phones can even, who play on phones anyway, can even handle those fights. So it's definitely a marvel,
Yeah, I was certainly impressed with it.
Yeah, it does run really well.
What do you focus your corporation on?
It's always changing. Whenever we first joined, we started out in Solitude and worked our way in the Syndicate. Our first thing was like, let's get a station because that's what everyone's, goal was at the time. And then at one point, I had like a big drive to be at the top of something, I wanted to like lead, on a high level. And as time went on and I saw the ramifications that maybe my actions might have had for the guys that I became friends with over the past, like, 3 months now, where their enjoyment of the game might have been, infringed upon. He kind of took a step back and stopped to be the best and start thinking about how I can make one. And we had our ups and downs, but I'm finally glad to say that for this part, I think everyone's having a good time making space money. I don't hardly ever make any kind of policing. A lot of people who have been in and around us know that I don't want to say like we're rough to be around, but like we're very outspoken guys, and everyone has thick skin. So as long as nothing gets personal or really inappropriate that shouldn't be, like things that shouldn't be said to by anyone, I've really not had to have any issues. Like I've never had to kick anyone out that I can think of. We're mostly full of like ex-Marines and like sarcastic IT guys who just spend all their days in front of a computer. So
That's good. They all got jokes.
yeah, they all got jokes. So, and I don't like to be that guy. I don't like to be like, I don't want to like make people feel, like I'd never want to threaten to kick someone out or like feel like I'm someone's boss, because the community that we have in my corporation is very much a council. And anyone who's worked with us knows that like there's not one person over everything, is that we do it very diplomatically and we talk it out. So even though I am the CEO, there are other people in my corp who are just as respected as me.
How's that work out, having a round table of ex-Marines running the corporation?
Well, we only have one Marine in leadership. So like in our leadership, we've got one ex-Marine, one ex very very street smart money sales guy, and then me, who I just work IT. So we have a nice trifecta when we go towards things, and then we have like like a lower level of leadership that we bounce things off of. But anytime there's any kind of questioning, I just ask people and we talk it out. There's complete transparency, and we always find the best solution.
I'm guessing you guys still live in nullsec. You're not like low-sec pirates or high-sec industrialists.
No, we started out in low sec immediately out the gate, and we aligned with some people, and we went out into null and syndicate, and we were like one of the first formal alliances in the game, and it was great up in there for a while. But we don't have any members who hang out in low sec or high sec unless they're like doing a trade route. Because I mean, we would just roast them to death for being out there. Anytime someone's out there, like if we get a new guy like that's new to the game, we go out and show them the ropes of how much more lucrative it is to be out here. Because there's just no comparison. I don't even know how you could survive. Like some people run mission running. I just don't even see how people do that all day. Or like the mining and low and high. I just don't understand how people do it. But no, we very rarely go to low sec. Maybe every now and then we'll have like one guy run around and like gank some Chinese bots out in the middle of nowhere. But that's as far as it goes.
Have you had any conflicts, not within your corporation, but maybe with other corporations?
I have to I guess I'll have to talk about this kind of, without saying names necessarily, because it is, but we haven't had any big conflicts. We had a few, in the beginning of the game, we had a conflict with someone we're actually allied with now, which is hilarious in retrospect because now we're all in the same the same group now. But that all started because we killed like one of their venture trainers back in the day, and it's funny to see how far the game's come since then. Like a venture trainer, like who cares? But um, we've mostly tried our best to fly under the radar per se, and not cause a lot of conflict. We just kind of align ourselves with our coalition's goals and do the best we can to stay within those diplomatic guidelines. We did have some trouble out of this random group when we were briefly stationed in Curse, looking at a prospective area, which was like a bunch of Dutch guys, and it was unfortunate because it was like the day Bubbles came out, and we moved like our whole alliance out in this area, and then here's these random Dutch guys who would just relentlessly camp the pipeline into HiSec, and they were smart, unfortunately, so we never really got to have like an actual engagement with them. They would always have one scout on the other side of the gate, so every time we massed to go fight them, they would just go and scurry away. So that's really the furthest, I guess, actual conflict we've had with an individual corp. We've been visited by Honk a few times when we lived in AZ, which is always interesting. The first time they came through in like October, they just came in and started honking at us, and then like linked like 2 killmails from our like alliance and left. And I was like, okay, I gotta respect it, But no, honestly, we've had a few headbutts with our very first alliance, which is an interesting story. It's a long one, but I don't know if I can always divulge all those details.
No, you can maintain OPSEC.
It's hard to.
Yeah, I would say it's hard. There's just so much.
It is an interesting story.
Well, when you started, you were in one of the earliest alliances, you said?
Right, yep. That was it was called Shadow Syndicate, which is interesting because we're actually allied with them now. We joined up and it was very early in the game, and we got lucky. There was a lot of guys hanging out with us around Solitude, and we formed up and held a really nice area up in Syndicate, which is now a very awful place you don't want to go. We call it Syndicate Fight Club now because it's a very dangerous area to traverse through. But we joined up and everything was good, and like I said before, we handle things as a council, and it seemed great at first, and then the more and more we went on, it seemed like the leadership was very top down, and wasn't so much like a council. And we had our moments where we were not happy, and then we sort of like would talk with the other guys and try to get the feel for everyone else. And then everything was fine for a bit. We kind of chilled out, and then like we had like a surprise move op thrown on top of us, saying we were going to go move into Fountain, which was a good thing. We didn't go to Fountain because we would have gotten destroyed. But me and one of my higher ups started working the crowd basically, and we began seeking out each CEO, and one-on-one we sort of talked to them and asked them if how they felt about the situation. And we sort of bent their ear a bit and convinced people without anyone else knowing that we were pretty much going to cause a mutiny, which to me that was kind of my guiding hand social club moment, I guess, which pales in comparison to the real guys. But we convinced like half of the alliance to basically rebel against the leadership, who had lost everyone's faith. And then there was like a big moment that happened, like a big meltdown one day, and the other two leading alliances, or the leading corporations, I mean, that were underneath the main guy, we got them all in on it. And so the day that the executor corporation, the alliance, made their move, we all dropped underneath at the same time and completely blindsided the guy, and we all reformed and took over the area that they originally had left from. And they like swore to we were like the main enemy, and the guy was convinced that we were the actual Guiding Hand Social Club, and he was trying to get us kicked out the day before, calling us AWOXers, which if you know us, we don't AWOX or anything like that. So it was just interesting to see the orchestration to pretty much bring that alliance down from the inside, which they're still around now, but I've had a lot of intel saying they're not doing super hot.
So you, in about a day, just flipped and destroyed one of the first alliances in the game from the inside.
Well, it wasn't about a day, actually. It was about 2 weeks. We kind of talked to them. We got, we started a dialogue individually with each CEO, except the two and the three at the top that were in what they called like the directorate, I think is what they called it back then. We left them out of it because we know that those two would be the hardest to convince, and they had the power to remove us. So we took the time, as one of the stronger corporations in the alliance at the time, we just kind of talked to them and kind of got them to agree with us. And, we kind of threw it on the back burner until that meltdown I told you happened and the surprise move off went on. And then one of the original guys confided in one of us and kind of told him that, the guy, the alliance executor, was pretty much cutting them out of the equation. So that kind of gave us the opportunity to strike. And they were happy to do it. And, once that was all said and done, they went from an alliance of like 1,200 members to about 120. And we never formally formed a second alliance. We're all still great friends now. We check in with each other. Everyone, as far as I know, is still playing the game. But, we never like reformed as a unit together. But we all laugh at it together. We look back at it fondly.
Well, that's a hell of a thing to have on your resume. Empire Toppler.
It makes me worried to tell the story sometimes because people they already associate me with the Real Guiding Hand Social Club, which anytime I try to recruit in like a public area, they were like, I know these guys, they did this, don't trust them. And I'm just like, no, it sounds bad whenever I tell the story, but, this guy had 9 corporations hostage and was trying to lead us with an iron fist, and we were pretty much baited and switched on how it was going to run. So as far as I'm concerned, the guy deserved it.
I think this is a good lesson for everybody in position of power out there. Don't abuse it.
Yeah.
Or you'll lose it. All right, Shura. Well, that was definitely impressive and eye-opening. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Shura. And now your Kill Mail of the Week. This week's Kill Mail is brought to you by the industry NPCs doing work. Mr. Big Bananas lost a Vindicator worth just over $5.8 billion by a few humpbacks and a nearest combat. It's just oddly satisfying when you see big battleships getting blown up, especially by industrial ships.
And that's it for us this week. For a deep dive of the week's most important stories and the week in review, check out Eve Echo's weekly news update on YouTube at Echoes from the Front, linked in the show notes.
And just like always, if you want to hear your kill mails, bounties, corp or alliance ads, or even your own voice as a guest of the week, join our Discord and say, hey, link is in the description.
If you enjoy the pod, maybe tell some people. We don't really do any kind of advertisement. So that word of mouth kind of means a lot to us. If you left a review on Apple Podcasts, that would mean even more. All right, till next week, fly dangerously.
Thanks for listening and fly safe.